Jeff, turn me up a little bit, okay? Just a little, thank you. From when you turned me down a little earlier. All right. That's just between you and me, though. All right. John 1:15. John 1:15. Now, John has a similar problem that Paul has with a particular group of people called the Gnostics. The Gnostics. John has the Gnostics were, and to be truthful, eventually the church created a different kind of Gnosticism. Gnosticism means this. There's special knowledge that some people have, right? Secrets, okay? For instance, to give you an example of what Gnosticism would look like, who are the guys that have the cross symbols like that? What are they? The Masons. Okay, their system is kind of like you come in at a certain place and then you don't get the next stuff to say until you get to that. They don't call them levels. What do they call them? Someone help me out. Degrees, thank you. And that is actually, and I'm not speaking against Gnosticism, I'm just saying that that's a form of it, right? Like there's some, you're not going to know everything, and then you get to a certain place, and you get a little bit more, and then you get to a certain place, and you get a little bit more. As a Catholic boy, we have a kind of Catholicism, has a kind of Gnosticism built into it. The first thing that happens is what? You're baptized, and then you get your Holy First Communion. And then from communion you have the confirmation, okay? And there is this process, and men design this, primarily men, for a reason, because they think that's the best way to bring people into deeper and deeper spiritual understandings. So, what John is trying to teach, one of the very simple things, is that having a relationship with the living God is actually not very complicated at all. It is as complicated as your next breath. Everybody take a breath. That's how complicated it is. But now, you got to know that men don't like simple stuff. It is the nature of people to complicate things. Is it not your nature? Is it not our nature to take a very, very simple thing, like a relationship? It is not our nature to take something very, very simple and to complicate it, to add layers upon it. And sometimes we complicate things because we want to protect them. You know, the church, when the Puritans came over to America, one of the reasons they did was in order to join the Church of England, you came to the point where you actually had to take a test. You see, you had to know a certain amount of information. So what happened was the people that were left out of the church were who? The uneducated, the people that struggled with learning so that they could pass the test. All right? I can remember as a young boy, and I don't know anybody else, my catechism. Anybody here do catechism besides? Oh, very good. And I can remember the nuns coming in. I went to a Catholic school. And it is time for your confirmation. And every week we had I think at least once a week or twice a week, we had catechism class that was taught by Monsignor North, which was Pasadena, and he would come in and teach catechism until you knew the information that was necessary so that you could go in, and then it was a very elaborate ceremony. So Gnosticism is really anything that complicates something that's very, very simple, which is basically a relationship with God. Christ is not hard to find, but, you know, at the death of Christ, the curtain in the temple was rent, torn, from the top to the bottom, so that man had access. In the Holy of Holies there was a thick curtain. The curtain was always closed. On the other side was the presence of God, the tabernacle where God dwelled. So when Christ dies on the cross, the that thick, thick curtain is ripped. Man has been busy re-sewing it ever since. Okay? And we re-sew it in many, many different ways. And so the early church, I'd say after all the apostles died, proceeded very, very quickly to re-sew the curtain. And to reinstitute all the forms of religion and further distancing people away from an actual simple relationship with the living God, which is not complicated at all, which any of you can have at any moment that you choose. God is not far away. God is in all, and eventually will be all in all. Amen? Yes, Jeff? Amen, Jeff? Amen. Sucking on a cough drop. Jesus testified concerning him. He cried out, John testified concerning him. He cried out, saying, "This is he of whom I said, he who comes after me has surpassed me, because he was before me." Point of truth. Jesus is superior to all things spiritual and temporal. Not Jesus. When I say the word Jesus, what do you think? What comes to your mind? Maybe during this season, what comes to mind is a baby in a manger.